I know that you've heard of the debate surrounding the effects that cattle have on the environment, but have you ever thought about what effects that same environment have on the production of beef cattle? Good afternoon. My name is William Jackson, and I'm going to tell you about how the environment and heat stress in particular affect the production of beef cattle, which I've been researching. So, how does the environment affect the beef cattle production? First, we're going to talk about the beef cattle producers' awareness of climate change. Then, we're going to get into how beef cattle respond to heat stress and how heat stress harm these cattle. And then finally, we're going to talk about how genetic selection is used to improve cattle's response to heat stress. All right, so starting off, farmers' awareness of climate change. So, a sample study was done in Nepal, and this found that only about 42% of farmers were actually aware of climate change. And unbeknownst to them, adaptation strategies were already implemented by them. So, that would include rotating their water or something like that. Just strategies to combat heat and problems of that nature that they don't even realize are a thing because of climate change. They've never done these things before, but they're having to adapt naturally to get there. And so, if farmers knew about climate change, they could start being smarter about their adaptation strategies and do better in beef cattle production. So, now we're six detrimental impacts on livestock that climate change has. That's going to be increased disease pest infestation, depleting grass and feed levels, decreasing milk production, death of the animal, heat stress, and appetite loss. All of these things are being combated daily, and they don't even realize that they're due to climate change. Most of these farmers don't it well as well. Anyway, so our second point: how do beef cattle respond to heat stress? A study was done on Fulgaric beef calves in Ethiopia to answer this question. It was divided into the study was divided into three different seasons. It was a dry season, a long rainy season, and a short rainy season. Um, Blood samples, temperatures, and weight gain were studied. Heart and respiratory rates improved with higher temperatures. So actually, performance of the cattle, heart and respiratory wise, improved with higher temperatures. But weight gain and growth decreased with these same higher temperatures. So there's trade offs. It's known that cattle grow well in warmer climates, but lack of water is extremely dangerous to these cattle. So when we say cattle grow well in warmer climates, that is up to a certain point. There's like a point of diminishing returns where once you hit that high of a heat stress level or of a heat level, the cattle go into heat stress, and then we're going to talk about how they respond to this and how it harms them in the next slide. So, like I said, how heat stress harms cattle. Heat stress indicates lower water levels. First off, to preface, um, cattle are most susceptible of any large livestock animal to water stress. So, lack of water is going to shut down their digestive functions. It's going to shut down most of their bodily functions. They're going to lose weight, lose performance, and possibly die. Like it says here, appetite loss, decreasing milk production, increased disease pest infestation levels, decreasing grass and feed levels, and eventually death of the animal. Heat stress is terrible for cattle. And like we said in the last slide, the heat level the cattle are raised at is going to be good up to a certain point. And then you start getting these diminishing returns with this content right here. So now we're going to move into our final point, which is how genetic selection is used to improve cattle's response to heat stress. So first off, there was a study done to differentiate Bos indicus and Bos taurus type cattle. Those are the two main overbreeds. I don't really know exactly what you would call them, but so they're looking at more of the Brangus or Brahma. Brahman influence is going to be Bos indicus, and Bos taurus is going to be more of your English calves, your traditional beef cattle that you would think of. So in this study, Nelore Brangus, which is Brahman and Angus cross, and tropical composite breeds were studied. It's known for a fact because the study studied it that under normal conditions, Boss Taurus cattle, which is going to be your more Nello or not your tropical and Brangus or Brahma kind of things, they gain more weight. But under heat stress, Bos indicus, they're going to gain more weight than Taurus because they're less susceptible to this heat stress. So they can tolerate more heat. And yeah, so it's recommended that you select Bos indicus influenced cattle to resist heat stress. So the hotter climate you're in, the more tropical climate you're in, you're going to want a Bos indicus cat influenced cattle. And with climate change, you're looking at a lot more heat coming, which is going to, I think we're going to see an increase of Bos indicus influenced cattle in the United States here. Right now, there are a lot overseas. That's where the study was done as well. So, in conclusion, we talked about beef cattle producers' awareness of climate change. We talked about how beef cattle respond to heat stress, how heat stress harms cattle, and how genetic selection is used to improve cattle's response to this heat stress. So, today we've learned that the effect of the environment on beef cattle is just as significant as their effect on the said environment. Thank you.